easier and less stressful to plan ahead and organize? Does this also happen to you when it comes to your finances? Don't worry, we got you.
Hello guys, and welcome back to our channel. I'm Vitor
And I'm Paula.
and we are so excited to be here today to give you some tips about your finances.
Yes, to get ready for 2021.
Yes.
If you are new to our channel, don't forget to check out our first video. We will leave the link up here, and let's just get started. Tip number 1, that will be opening a high interest savings account. And the most important thing is that you want it to be absolutely free. You don't want to be paying any monthly fees, you don't want to have to pay for extra transactions, and you don't want to have a minimum balance required. But how high do you want the interest to be? Well, as high as possible, obviously, but you want it to be higher than the inflation rate that is in your country, or at least to get close to it. For example, we live in Canada, and the inflation rate for next year is going to be approximately 2%. That's what they're estimating. So we want our savings account to have an interest of 2% or higher. Why? Simply because you don't want to lose money. And what would you want this account for? Well, in this account, you want to keep your emergency fund. An emergency fund, like the name suggests, is for emergencies. You want to have enough money to cover your expenses for any time from 6 to 12 months, and it is just for an emergency. So you want to have this money in this account where it's available to you right away, where you can access it 24/7, and then you don't want to lose money. So by keeping it in this account, you'll be able to keep pretty much the same amount, and obviously you won't be paying any fees. If you were to keep this amount in a traditional bank account where the interest fees are very low, you'll be losing money, and then on top of that you'll be paying. So that's not the idea. That's why we want you to keep your emergency fund in a high interest savings account. In our case, we bank with EQ Bank. It's one of the best options that we could find out there. And right now our interest is around 1.5%. Before the whole pandemic and everything, it used to be 2.45%, which was great. But 1.5, still good. If you're interested in opening an account with EQ Bank, you could make $20. So we're gonna leave the link in the description box. There's just a few rules that you have to follow, but it's pretty simple, and it's $20. Why wouldn't you want to make $20? Also, another important point is that you have to make sure that the bank that you go with is protected by a federal insurance corporation. These are insurance for the banks, and pretty much they make sure that your money is saved and protected in case anything were to happen with the bank. They make sure that you get all of your money back. In Canada, most banks are protected by the CDIC, and they protect your money for up to $100,000. But of course, this varies within countries. That's just the case here in Canada, and of course, there are many conditions that change the amount that they will protect your money for. But I'm pretty sure that in every single country they will have this. You just have to search it, make sure that it is protected, just to be safe. But one of the problems with these banks that offer high interest is that some of them, not all of them, but some of them don't offer cards, so no debit or credit card. Which brings us to our tip number 2, which is open an account at a bank where they offer debit and credit cards, but that you get some benefit out of it. This will be pretty much the same. You want this account to be completely free. You don't want to be paying any monthly fees or for extra transactions, or you don't want to have a minimum balance requirement. You want it to be completely free, and of course to offer cards, debit or credit. And you want to make sure that you're able to use these cards online, especially right now in these times where everything is online. A lot of the times, some cards nowadays, they don't have the security code at the back, which stops you from using it online. So you want to make sure that you're able to use them. And by benefit, we mean you want to get something out of it, of course. So you want to have maybe some cash back or some air miles, anything. And what would you use this account for? Well, in this account, you want to keep your monthly expenses. So enough of your money to cover your monthly expenses. And maybe you're wondering, why would I have my monthly expenses if I already have my emergency fund saved? Why wouldn't I just take money from there? Well, because it's for an emergency. You don't want to be touching that money. But what happens if the bank where you have your high interest savings accounts does offer debit or credit card? Well, a tip would be keep them separate. So in your savings account, you will keep your emergency fund, and then on your check-ins, you keep your monthly expenses. But what happens if they only offer credit card? Well, you will keep your emergency fund and your monthly expenses together. You want to be very careful that you don't go over your monthly expenses and use your emergency fund. And why do we suggest you get a credit card? Well, two things. You want to build credit history. I'm pretty sure you know what credit history is. It's just a history of you and your credit, and making sure that you're a good person, that you pay on time, and it helps you in the future to get a mortgage, finance a car, pretty much just borrow money. And number two, money now is worth more than money in the future. So getting a credit card is a way for you to delay any payments, but you gotta be very careful that you spend just the amount of money that you know you have, that you know you can pay. And for what? Well, you don't want to build a debt, and you don't want to be paying high interest. If you know, credit card interest is probably the highest interest out there. It is around 20% a year. But then again, credit cards is just a huge topic that we will cover in another video. As I said earlier, we bank with EQ Bank, but the problem is that they don't offer any cards. So we also bank with Tendering, and they offer us debit and credit card. And one of the benefits is that we get cash back. If you're interested in opening an account at Tendering, you could use our orange key, which we will leave in the description down below, and you could make $50. But just like EQ Bank, there are some rules you have to follow, but don't worry, we will leave all of the details down below.
All right, so much information till now. So let me give you a quick summary. High interest savings account, emergency fund, check-ins and savings, credit cards. That's a lot to think about it, isn't it? And maybe now you're asking yourself, oh my god, how am I gonna keep track of all of that? Don't worry, now it comes the tip number 3, keeping track of all your money movement. And what do you want to keep track of? Well, everything. And by everything, I mean vertical and horizontal movements. But what are vertical and horizontal movements? Well, vertical movements will be everything that goes in and out your account, for example, your income or any of your expenses. And horizontal movements are every movement between your accounts. For example, if you want to move from your emergency fund to your check-ins account, or your savings account to your check-ins account, whatever, any movement that goes between your accounts is considered a horizontal movement. And maybe now you are like, Victor, it's a lot of work to do this. Well, you cannot improve what you cannot measure. And you will be in better control of your money. Maybe you can create budgets, and for sure you will notice some standards on your expenses. and you'll be able to cut some of them maybe. And when you cut some expenses, you will have extra money that you can do something else with that. In our case, we use apps, but really guys, you can use anything. Excel, paper, anything. But we use apps because it's with us everywhere and brings tons of benefits. Some of them are, you can see graphs, create categories and subcategories, and you can sync with your bank. But I don't do that because then I force myself to go into my bank accounts and balance and reconcile my account with my app. The app that I use is called One Money. We can review the app in detail in a future video. Comment below if you guys want it. But again, my app is One Money. It's for Android. And Paula, because she has iOS, Apple, she used Buddy, that we can also review in a future video together. And what if after you track all your finances, you realize you have some money left? What would you do? Would you rather put under your mattress or invest it? Well, that brings us to our fourth and last tip, investing. But first of all, what is investing? Well, it's the ability to lend money or buy an asset and make money out of it. So you can flip houses, you can be a landlord, you can buy stocks, you can invest in cryptocurrency. Anything that will bring a return, an interest to you guys. Why would you want to invest? Well, don't you have goals? Like buy a house, buy a car, support your family, retire early. All of this requires planning and probably money. Because at the end, guys, you just want to be at peace with yourself. You want to wake up and not have to worry if you have enough to pay your rent or any of your expenses. In our case, we invest with Custrade and Wealthsimple. Custrade we use to buy and sell stocks and get dividends. And Wealthsimple we are using to invest in cryptocurrency. We can also make videos in the future comparing both apps and reviewing them, so stay tuned.
So that was a lot of information, guys, but up next we're going to show you a summary of all of our accounts, and you're going to be able to get a big picture of how everything works and how everything is connected. Okay guys, a quick recap. As we said earlier, our high interest savings account we have at EQ Bank, and here is where we receive all of our income and where we have our emergency fund. And from there we distribute money to our debit and credit card account, which is Tangerine. From that account we paid all of our monthly expenses, and at the same time we get cash back.
And from our EQ Bank, we also distribute money to our investments, as we already mentioned, Custrade and Wealthsimple. Here we also have own investments, which means real estate, not stocks, but actual properties. And as you can see the arrows, we reinvest our dividends, and also we have passive income that we put it back on our high interest savings account and can redistribute again. So as you can see, we have our horizontal and vertical movements here, income and monthly expenses with the cash back would be the vertical movements, and our distribution between accounts, it's the horizontal movements. And of course we keep track of all of that with One Money and Buddy. That's it for today's video, guys. We hope you got the most of it.
And also we hope that you really put in practice all of the tips that we share with you today so that you can better manage your money in 2021.
Don't forget to subscribe, like the videos, share with your friends and family, activate the notifications, and see you next time.